Women of Reddit, what's something that men should not be insecure about? Story 1. It's okay to not be the smartest person in the room. Admitting that you don't know or don't understand something doesn't make you look weak, but blustering your way through makes you seem like an arrogant child. Story 2. The appearance of being too cool for school. So many men act like any level of even mild enthusiasm or interest for any topic will ruin their life. Have some fun. We all end up in the ground. Why not enjoy your time above it? People suck and their opinions can bugger off. Story 3. Don't feel insecure about liking girly things. Order that fruity drink, watch that rom-com, and sing in the shower. A lot less people care than you might think. I actually used to work at the dining room bar at a restaurant in town, and my favorite drink became a Bellini. Yeah, I know. They're basically all sugar, but who cares? Bellinis are fucking awesome. Story 4. Honestly, anything regarding physical appearance. Most women just want a guy who's confident in their own skin. Most women also prefer a good personality over perfect looks. Have good hygiene and don't sweat the small stuff. You can physically be a 6 out of 10 at first glance, but after a good conversation, 10 out of 10 all the way. How you look is only what you're born with, so be comfortable no matter what, because the right person is going to come around and see you entirely for who you are when you have a good-ass personality. I know a Latin girl who pretty much ticked all the marks that most guys look for physically, and she had a really good personality too. She was going out with a few guys, including one she talked about as being a perfect 10 physically, but like a 2 in personality because his life revolved around his looks. She actually ended up going exclusive with a guy she said was an 8 because they got along really well and he had a really positive outlook on life. The caveat here is that all the guys she was dating, including the guy she started going steady with, were about 3, 4 or so years older than her, and the guy that she chose, and is still with about a year later, was pretty established in his career and his lifestyle when they met. Story 5. Appearing feminine over stupid things, like thinking a puppy is cute, wearing pink, or being generally friendly and smiley with people. Women like that shit, and we get annoyed and exhausted by men who take masculinity too far. Story 6. Size is not important. There is such a thing as too big. My husband is very average size, and he's expressed a few times that he isn't big enough. But he is, and I've told him this. Us ladies come in different sizes too. Sometimes we get at an angle where he's actually too deep, and that shit hurts. We have to stop and readjust, and then I'm doing this thing with my hips to prevent him from going too far because I'm scared it's gonna hurt again, which means by this point I'm no longer fully enjoying the experience. So fellas, please don't say you wish you were bigger. Not all women can handle bigger. This is true. I was dating a girl briefly who, as soon as things started going the route of depraved sinners between us, she stopped and made it very clear that she was small. I guess she had a swath of guys she dated during college whose favorite bedtime snack was pound cake, and she'd been internally bruised on multiple occasions. The best way that I can think to describe this for us guys would be, think of it like having your tip bruised, as if, say someone pinned it up against a hard place and just punched it a bunch of times. That's kind of the equivalency to what that would feel like, and so I'm sure, as we can all imagine, us guys watching, and of course me speaking, doesn't exactly sound like a fun time. So for her, yeah, pretty unappealing. Story 7. Guys shouldn't feel insecure about being hairy. I love a hairy chest, and don't find a hairy back or shoulders to be a problem. Like most things, yeah, you'll find women who won't like it. But if they're willing to write you off for something physical that's out of your control, they probably aren't the person for you. I will say, however, regardless of anything else, hygiene is important. If you're hairy, you might sweat more depending on the climate and how warm you run, but if you shower regularly and keep everything clean, it's all good. And yes, this includes hairy butts, backs, legs, shoulders, etc. I think the only thing I might ask someone to trim would be crazy nose hair, though technically that could be disguised by a mustache. Alongside nose hair, I would also say nipple hair. If you have a patchy overall chest, but really defined North Star whiskers, it's probably worth keeping those at bay. Story 8. Not being muscular or super strong. You don't need to carry me for miles or look like you're from a photoshopped magazine cover. Also, I've met a few guys who are insecure about wanting to be hugged and being on the receiving end of platonic intimacy and wanting platonic intimacy in general. You can snuggle up to us just as much as we can to you, and don't need to worry about being immediately in the mood on our command. Also, their height. I don't know about others, but I don't care how tall you are. Yeah, height is one of those things. In my experience, a lot of girls seem to say they want a tall guy with XYZ other traits, but then click with a guy who isn't more than an inch or two taller and doesn't have chiseled six-pack abs or a six-figure salary or whatever. He's just the guy that makes them feel the best. The next story has more insight into this, but it's just what I've noticed. Story 9. I believe that a lot of people, especially young people, have these ideas about what they're supposed to want, and don't realize that it's not a real preference, but imposed on them by society. For example, back in the 80s and 90s, super thin ladies were considered the hottest, like no butt at all. Then the Big Butt song came out, and it started shifting, then curves were in. I remember when I was young, I had all these dumbass ideas. Going to an art university helped. I never thought to question those ideas before and find out what it was that I actually preferred for myself. Turns out, boys who are shorter than me, who just don't give a fuck about it, are sexy as hell. Story 10. Being inexperienced with the opposite gender. There's a lot you can learn outside of hands-on experience. Read a spicy romance novel, learn how to talk in the bedroom, learn what them hands do. If you're confident you can rock her world, you'll be way more attractive. Something to be wary of, though, is maintaining proper hygiene. That means washing properly back there, having cut and clean nails, and washing your hair often enough that it doesn't become a natural repellent. That actually reminds me of a story. I don't know how true it is, but I've got two witnesses who claim to have seen it firsthand. So my stepdad and his brother were out camping with a group of people, and one of the guys there had a full head of dreadlocks that he'd been growing out for several years. One day, he decided to trim them down. So he goes and starts to cut the first lock, and as he finishes, a bug crawls out. So yeah, hygiene, kind of important. It's also worth mentioning on the matter of washing your rear end that the biggest reason you do this, if not for your own sake, is so that if you've got a girl going down south, she doesn't get a whiff of yesterday's digested dinner. Story 11. A good example is actually happening right now. I'm at a pool party. Two very nice overweight guys are in the pool, but they're both wearing t-shirts to cover their guts and just standing around. Then there's a third guy who's easily an extra 40 pounds on these two guys, and he's shirtless, having the time of his life, playing with reckless abandon in the pool basketball game and cracking jokes with all the people at the party. He's way more attractive to the girls because he isn't ashamed of his body and exudes confidence. Should all three lose weight? Sure, most of us should. But don't stop having fun because you're ashamed of your body. Live your life and have fun. This is a very attractive trait to all people. And as a middle-aged woman, I like to think that I've got at least a little bit of wisdom about things like this. I've seen some shit. Story 12. They should stop feeling insecure about showing emotion, especially in a relationship. I know a lot of guys grew up being told that showing emotion was girly, but honestly, when a guy's open about how he's feeling and doesn't suppress it, it makes everyone feel more secure. When the girl feels like she's the only one who has real feelings in the relationship, then it's hard to trust the guy, and the guy often feels misunderstood as he isn't conveying what he wants to. Guys, please know that it's okay to be a little emotional. You deserve to be honest with the people around you, and it makes relationships so much better for everyone involved. Though I would add to this that over-emotionality is unattractive. Your partner isn't your parent or your therapist. A good quote for this that I try to follow is, "There's no shame in crying, but there's a time and place for it, and it's after the job is done." Unfortunately, I'm not sure who originally said it, but I'm pretty sure I got it off of Reddit actually, oddly enough. I think it was someone's grandpa that said it. And now we move on to the rapid fire segment, 4 stories too short to make a full entry of, but too good to be left out. Performance anxiety, especially in established relationships. I just want to have some fun and feel close to my partner. It doesn't have to be amazing every single time. Some friends of mine are really insecure about not being able to grow a beard. To be honest, it doesn't really matter. A little chub. I personally love my men squishy and comfortable to cuddle with. Height. It's disturbing how one of the first things most short guys will say is how they make up for it down south, or something similarly crass and unappealing. It's such an immediate turnoff. Their heavy morning voice. Receding hairline. All men get it. It's just part of having testosterone. Voice cracks. Every guy I've ever dated has apologized whenever his voice cracked. I honestly don't even notice most of the time. And when I do, I think it's cute. Singing. I love it when I'm at a laid-back pizza shop and the cooks are in the back singing. It makes no difference if they aren't terrific singers. I just adore it when folks are so delighted that they can sing. Being dorky and nerdy, that shit's cute as hell and super attractive. You fellow nerds are the cutest. Not having accomplished certain things by society's standards. You're still young at 23. Hell, even 33. And actually, there's a stat that the Pew Research Center recently came out with. Between the ages of 18 and 29, 63% of men are single compared with 34% of women. And a large part for this reason is because younger women are dating older, more established guys, just like that girl that I mentioned in story 4. The other day I was actually talking with a friend of mine, and she was saying that in high school, her friends would list a guy being in his mid-20s or older as one of their top dating qualifications. This was high school girls. And recent events have just exacerbated this because now a lot of people are worried about affordability and security, which older, more established guys can provide. Although, on the bright side, I do have several friends who are dating people their same age or within a year of each other, so there is still hope for us guys in our 20s. So that's all for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this content. I'm ReddList. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I will see you next time.